Hi, remember me? I used to make videos on this channel. Those are the days. So it's been a while and I've really had the itch to make a new video. I've just been so busy with my business I haven't had a chance to, but this week I've had a little bit of extra time and I figured, there's people have been making a lot of these tier lists and it seemed like something that was really fun. And Woodhawker from Beat 'em Ups put one out about, he was ranking 100 Nintendo Switch games. So I figured, let's rank 100 JRPGs, and I gotta tell you, it was a challenge just to come up with 100 JRPGs that I've played, or that I can have an opinion on, and some of them I have not played. So some of these 100 are gonna be games that I haven't played, but I figured people would ask, so I would include them, and then I'll just include them in the haven't played section. Real quick before we do get started though, I wanna mention that I do a weekly JRPG podcast called the Giant Sword Podcast, so if you're missing content from me and you want more JRPG goodness, make sure you follow us on YouTube, on iTunes, wherever you get your podcasts. We try as best we can to do a weekly podcast. Real quick, let me just break down my thought behind all the different tiers. So S tier, best of the best. No video game is perfect, but this is about as close as it can get. S is like near perfect. It has like one minor flaw that just barely prevents it from getting there. A tier is like excellent, easy to recommend, best in, like some of the best in class. B tier is like solid. There's like a couple things that maybe hold it back. C tier is inoffensive but unremarkable. Like doesn't do anything great, doesn't do anything terrible. It's just kind of bleh. D tier is like almost trash, but it's got like one little thing about it that like saves it. I think trash is self-explanatory, and so is haven't played it. So let's get ready for taste. Let's get this started with the first S plus tier game, Persona 4 Golden, my all-time favorite game, the perfect example of what I think a JRPG is. Lots of exploring, dungeon crawling, good combat, good story, good characters, good music, all that stuff. Doesn't get better than that for me. And it really doesn't get any more trash for me than Conception 2. I thought this would be like a B tier Persona game, but it turned out to just be waifu lewd garbage. Don't play it. Bravely Default, I want this game to be an S plus or an S, but I just can't do it. That ending really ruined it for me. It's got great music, great combat, great job system. Everything about it is amazing, but that ending really drops it down a couple tiers. Unfortunate, but still awesome game. Crisis Core is a game that kind of baffles me. A lot of people have a strong fondness for this game, but I don't really get it. I think it's just because it's related to Final Fantasy and it's got, some stuff that's in higher fidelity and it kind of fleshes out Zack's backstory, and I know a lot of people like Zack, but I didn't really like the combat and I hated the randomness of like the limit break system. That goes way down in C tier for me. Chrono Trigger, I think in most people it'd be S plus, prime example of what a JRPG should be. The only thing that's holding it back is the time travel system, and not that it's bad or anything, it could just be kind of confusing. There were times where I didn't quite know where to go between the different timelines and I had to look up a guide, but other than that, I could not believe how well that game holds up. I played it way later. I did not play it when it came out, and it really holds up. Amazing music, great battle system, cool story. That's an S for me. It just barely misses out because of how confusing the time travel can be at times. Dark Cloud, janky combat, but I had a lot of fun building the towns. Awesome launch game for PS2, that's a solid B. Dragon Valor, this is the definition of a hidden gem. A lot of people have not heard about this game. Imagine Ys on PS1, and that's basically Dragon Valor. Nothing about it is memorable as far as the story goes, but it is really solid. If you haven't played it yet, pick it up, solid B. Etrian Odyssey, I have OCD big time, and I loved meticulously filling out the map. That was just so much fun, so that's an A for me. Fire Emblem Fates, I know a lot of people hate on this game, it's all the waifu, whatever, and they split up between the two games, kind of like a Pokemon game. I really liked it. It has a lot of memorable characters, and I don't know, I just had a lot of fun with it. That's another A tier for me. Unfortunately, Secret Mana is a game I have not played. I want to get around to it. I heard the remake was not great. Final Fantasy XII is an S tier for me. It barely misses out on being S plus because you have to deal with Vaughn at the beginning of the game, and he sucks. The game should have been about Balthier, and it's very clear as the game goes on that him and Ash become the main characters, and then that's when the game really takes off. And I particularly include this as the Zodiac Age version, where it has a different jobs board system, and you can speed up the game, and it just looks better. S tier, easy. Grandia is your prototypical classic Golden Age RPG. It's a great coming-of-age adventure story. Cool soundtrack, cool combat, and just did a lot of innovative things for the time, and even kind of now that I feel like a lot of games don't do, that's easy A for me. Hyperdimension Neptunia Victory, that is, I wanted to put it in trash, but it's D. There's good comedy in it, and that's really all that saves it. I don't like the battle system, I think the story's boring, the production values are low, it does not run well. Oculus Trip, I also want to put in trash, but it barely escapes and it's in D tier because, I don't know, I just had fun exploring it. I had played that game not too long after making my own trip to Japan, and it kind of reminded me that. It was fun to kind of like compare photos and what was in the game and where I went, so for me, you know, D. Harvest Moon Save the Homeland. This is a game that I really wanted to love, but for whatever reason I never really got into, and it didn't hold as much of a nostalgia for me as like Back to Nature did. I love that game, but you can play it on PS4 now, in the PS2 Classics version. Solid B for me, definitely. Valkyrie Profile, I've played a tiny bit of this game. I know what it's like, I know people like it, but I haven't played it enough to like rank it somewhere. I just don't think it's fair. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, that's not a JRPG. Yes, it is. If Final Fantasy 15's in here, which it is, then Zelda's gotta be in here. And for me, S+. To me, there is not a more rewarding exploration RPG than Breath of the Wild. I loved finding all the shrines, I loved upgrading my gear, coloring my gear, exploring the town. Yes, the story is kind of whatever, music is not great, but everything else was incredible. Near perfect game, definitely belongs in the S tier. S+ tier. Jade Cocoon, to me that's a D game. It's cool, when the game came out it was fun to like combine all the monsters and do all that, but then like as the game goes on it just gets really tedious to run back and forth from town. Battles are kind of slow, exploring's not that great, loading times are slow. It's not trash, but I feel I can't put it in C tier, I just can't. Jeanne d'Arc is a strategy RPG from level 5 on the PSP that nobody played, and it's awesome. A little difficult, but really cool game. People should give it more of a try. Definitely solid B. Kingdom Hearts 2. I think this is going to be a controversial one. I haven't played it in a while, and I don't like hold the nostalgia for it like a lot of people do. But I remember there being a lot of cool worlds, and I think what bummed me out is the beginning where you're not Sora for like hours, and I'm like, what is happening? So for me, you know what? I'll put it A. I wanted to give it B, but I'll put it in A tier. Ni no Kuni, for me, this is an S+ tier game. It's almost not what the game is, but what it represented at the time. Because you have to remember back in the PS3, we were like starved for JRPGs, and Ni no Kuni was this shining light, level 5, Studio Ghibli, oh my god, it's amazing. And it's got an amazing soundtrack, it's so much fun to explore, so pretty. I imported the game, it was the first game I ever imported. I can't not put it S+. Oh boy, here we go. Definitely the most controversial one so far, maybe of this whole list. I don't really like Final Fantasy VI. I did not play it when it came out. I don't have any fondness for any of the characters or the story, and it's really a really hard game to play now. There's a lot of high encounter rates. The turn-based battles are not all that interesting, and it just doesn't do it for me like the way I think people had, you know, when it came out. So for me, I gotta put it in B tier. Kingdom Hearts 3 goes right next to Kingdom Hearts 2, A tier. Great graphics. Love the visual flair of all the worlds and stuff like that. Harvest Moon, Back to Nature, that's an S tier game for me. I have so much nostalgia for that game. I remember just pumping hours and hours and hours. I remember I was the first one in my friend group to discover that game, and I felt so proud of that, and we all had our own adventure, our own way of raising, you know, our animals and picking girls and stuff like that. I don't know, I just really like that game. Lightning Returns, Final Fantasy 13. It's a D. What saves it is it's got an awesome combat system. I love swapping between your different battle stances. I love that there were actually towns in the game, unlike normal Final Fantasy 13, but other than that, the production value is embarrassing for a Final Fantasy game. The story is terrible. It was just a clear cash-in. God, total D tier game. Final Fantasy X, this is a game that a lot of people have a lot of fondness for. I only beat it a few years back. It's got a good soundtrack, story is whatever. But in my opinion, it has the best turn-based battle system of any Final Fantasy game, but I just don't have the fondness for it like a lot of other people do, so that's going to be a B for me. Final Fantasy Tactics, S+, baby. That is the premier turn-based strategy JRPG. For me, it doesn't get any better than that. The customization, the music, the characters. God, I love that game. I can't imagine it ever will be topped, and it blows my mind that Square does not make a sequel. Square, make a sequel to Final Fantasy Tactics, a proper 2, not advanced, a proper 2. People will buy it. Xenoblade Chronicles, I have not played this yet. I know it's a lot of people's favorite. Lunar Silver Star Harmony, this is the PSP remake. For a while, I probably would have had it in S+ or S tier, but as time goes on, I feel like time has not been kind to this game, but I still really love this game, so for me that's a solid A. Mercenary Chronicles Saga. This is the nicest C I could ever give to a game. It is exactly what the C tier is. Inoffensive, unremarkable. It is just a strategy RPG. There's nothing spectacular about it, but it's not bad in any way. Pokemon Sun, I don't have X and Y or any other 3DS game on there. I have this one just because it's the latest one, and it has, as far as visuals go, it's pretty nice. It changed up the formula a bit. That's solid A. Unless they do something different, I really can't put Pokemon higher than an A. Dragon Quest Builders, I don't know if a lot of people would count this as a JRPG, but I'm going to because I couldn't think of 100 games. That's an A tier game for me. Legend of Dragoon, this one is pure nostalgia. I know this game doesn't hold up. The story is whatever. It does not look great, but for me, it's just so nostalgia heavy, I gotta put it in A tier. Peek behind the curtain. This is my second time recording this because I left out a couple games that were vital to this list. And I originally put Fantasy Life as an A tier game, but the more I think about it, like the story is whatever, but it was like really, really solid. It was just like checklist game. It was charming. I don't think I can put it, I feel wrong putting it in A rank now. That's a solid B. Burn Factory 4, same thing, solid B. Okay, Xenoblade Chronicles 2. This is a contentious game. I like some of the characters. I like the music. The world is cool. I think the battle system is way too complicated for its own good. And I also think the game's too long. So I gotta put it in C. It's really good in some areas and really bad in some areas. So that's kind of why it evens out at a C. The more I was thinking about it, I don't want to put it any higher or lower. Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth. I remember when this came out, people were like falling in love with it and it sold really well. I played it pretty recently and I don't really see what the hubbub's about. It looks nice. Combat's cool. It's a little stiff. Solid C. Chrono Cross, best soundtrack of any JRPG ever. Gorgeous world. I love the variety of characters. I think there's too many battles in the game. It's a little slow. I didn't really dig the combat, and then the story gets a little crazy. I think you spend too much time as Lynx for my taste, but still solid B, solid game. Earthbound, have not played it, probably will never play that. It just doesn't seem like my kind of game. It's cryptic, and there's a lot of turn-based battles that don't have any extra flair or anything. That's just not my type of game. All right, let's see. Parasite Eve. I mean, that game kind of turned into Resident Evil as the series went on, but the first one, people consider a JRPG still. I like it. Solid B. Mugen Souls, that's pure trash. Mega Man Legends, another game that I think a lot of people don't consider a JRPG, but you explore. There's a story, you level up Mega Man. I don't know. I really consider this an RPG. I'm going to put it in A tier. Yeah, I like that game a lot. When I came into this, I was thinking, oh, Nier Automata, that's going to be an A tier game. The more I reflect on Nier Automata, I really love the soundtrack. I really love the combat. The story is so compelling and interesting. I love how weird that game is. There were a couple parts where it doesn't allow you to save, and I lost progress, and that really bugged me for a while. I quit the game, and then I came back to it, but that is the only thing keeping it from S+ tier, honestly, are those couple of rough moments, but that is an S game for me. Final Fantasy 13. That is a solid piece of trash. I really don't like this game. I know a lot of people are like, oh, the music's good. You got this and you got that. Vanille is the only saving grace of that game. I love Vanille. She is so cute and adorable and amazing, but everything else in that game is terrible. There's no towns. It's so linear. I don't like the story. I don't like the characters. I really don't actually like the combat, even though people say the combat's good. Nope. Pure trash. Final Fantasy VIII, I think people have been really hard on this game over the years, and I think unfairly so. In my opinion, it's got the best soundtrack of any Final Fantasy game, and I think there is actually kind of a cool story when you give it a chance. So I'm gonna put Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy VIII in B tier. Octopath Traveler. That is an S game for me. The only thing that stops it from being S tier is there is no connecting story. It's got an amazing soundtrack, amazing combat system, amazing visual look. God, near masterpiece. Final Fantasy VII, in years past, I would have put it in S plus tier, but I think visuals don't really hold up. But I owe all my gaming love, all my JRPG love, all my Japanese, media love to Final Fantasy VII. That's what got me into JRPGs and it made me fall in love. If it wasn't for that, none of these, I wouldn't be talking about any of these. Final Fantasy IX, in years past, I probably would have put it low because I've tried to play this game on 5 different platforms, and finally I got it on PS4, and with the speed up mechanic and all that, and I just sat there and did it. I love the characters. Vivi is my favorite Final Fantasy character. It's got a really good soundtrack, really cool world. That is solid A for me, but I can't put it any higher just because of the combat. Dragon Quest VIII, I think this is a game that a lot of people would probably put in one of these 3 tiers, but for me, it's too grindy. Even on the 3DS version where you can kind of speed things up, there's too much grinding. It does have an amazing world, amazing soundtrack, great characters, but it's a B for me. I just can't put it any higher. Hexy's Force, this is a game that nobody played on PSP. Solid RPG where there's 2 main characters and you can kind of play different sides of the same story. Solid B. Tellier Totri, again, solid B. Tellier Rorona, I'm also going to put it B tier. I would put Rorona slightly above Totri. Like if you asked me which of the Arlen trilogy games to play, I would probably recommend Rorona. It's a little bit more straightforward. And then Maruru, I'm going to put at C tier because I never finished it when it originally came out on PS3, and then I bought the Switch port over Christmas, and it was busted. It kept crashing, and it's now fixed, but it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth, so I gotta leave it at C tier. Oh boy, Dragon Quest VII. That game, that is like the epitome of the type of JRPG I don't like, where it's huge, too many turn-based battles, the encounter rate's high, the story is not that interesting. It's like a collection of small stories. That's, oh man, to me that's a D tier game. I'm sorry. Johnny, Happy Console Gamer, if you're watching, I'm so sorry. Anybody else that likes that game, I'm sorry. That wasn't for me. Okay, Witch and the Hundred Knight. Trash. Game came out and it was so clear that they didn't know how to make this type of game. The UI is all over the place. The combat's not great. They clearly didn't know how to make 3D models. The 3D models looked bad. I really did not like the main character. Metalia, I think her name is. She was just horrible. To me, this is almost like unrealized expectations as part of it, and then I just think the game's bad. Fire Emblem Awakening. I think that and Fates are neck and neck, kind of the same game, but I'm going to bump it up to S, and here's why. Fire Emblem Awakening is the game that got me back into Nintendo. I bought a GameCube. The only game I ever played on it was the Resident Evil 1 remake. I'm not even kidding. Didn't own a Wii, did not own GBA or a DS or Game Boy SP or any of those. So I was really out of the loop when it came to Nintendo games for a really long time, but then I have such a fondness for tactics that I saw this and I'm like, it's getting really good reviews, and it's a strategy RPG, and I love those, and I haven't played a good new one in a long time. So that's what got me to buy a 3DS, what got me back into Nintendo. I gotta put it at an S, it's really solid. Okay, let's run through a few of these pretty quick. Walled Arms, B. Persona 3, that's also a B. I don't like the stamina mechanic. I don't like that you can't control your other party members. Ezoth and Felghana, we're really filling out the B tier list here. Suikoden again, solid B. Legend of Legaia, solid B. Kingdom Hearts 1, that's also gonna be a B for me. Grace's F, I wanted to love this game. It fizzles out near the end, B. Pokemon Red and Blue, I think just graphically it does not hold up. Now if this was Pokemon Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu, maybe different story. It's B, just I think pure visuals. Time and Eternity, this game is trash. I think this entices a lot of people for whatever reason. I don't know if it's the visuals or the art style or whatever it is. It's a bad game, don't buy it. Watch my video if you don't believe me. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 Torna, the Golden Country, that's a mouthful. I'm putting that in A. That is what Xenoblade 2 should have been. Laura is a much more likable character. The combat system is so much more digestible. The music is not quite as good, but it's good in a different way, the jazzy kind of vibe. And it's short. It's only like 15-20 hours, so I really like Torna. All right, Dragon Quest 11. That's an S tier game. If it weren't for the music, that is the only thing preventing it from being an S+ game is the music. It's the MIDI style and the unorchestrated style, and next to Persona 4 Golden, to me it has my favorite cast of characters in really any game. I love the world, the best collection of towns in any RPG, period, for my taste. The more I've sat on Dragon Quest XI, the more I've kind of fallen in love with that game. Let's see, Final Fantasy Type 0, this is kind of a funny one. It's almost like a series of short missions, and then there's like those large-scale battles. It's a little melodramatic, and the ending is like... they go way off the deep end, and I like that there's such a variety of characters to choose from. Whatever your combat style, you can pick somebody that you like. I'm actually gonna put that in A tier. Oh my god, Type 0 is above Final Fantasy VI? Yeah. What are you gonna do about it, Kimpy, huh? Alright, so White Knight Chronicles. I really want to put this in trash tier, but I'm gonna put it in D tier, because it's probably not as bad as I thought it was. But here's my story with White Knight Chronicles 2, if you don't know about it. This was during the PS3 era, when I was starved for JRPGs, and that had just come out and it was level 5. I was like, this can't possibly be that bad. But it was. Just visually the most uninteresting style that level 5 has ever done. I don't know how they let this game go out. Solid D tier. Speaking of D tiers, Project Crosszone, that's another D tier game. This is a game that should have had it all. It had this amazing roster of characters, strategy RPG developed by Monolith, but it's just boring, long, drawn out, and really not that fun. Rune Factory Tides of Destiny, this is like the epitome of a C tier game. I kind of wanted more out of it. Radiata Stories, the game, another overlooked game on the PS2 that very few people, I think, played. Similar to Suikoden, you can go around town, recruit different people. It has a kick mechanic where you can literally kick anything and you get items and stuff. That's a solid B. I keep saying solid B. I've said that so many times. A Saga Frontier, that's pure trash. They need to stop making these, stop porting these. They're not interesting. Star Ocean Integrity and Faithlessness is also pure trash. There are these moments where you have to defend somebody hacking on a computer and the AI is brain dead and they die in seconds, and like there's almost no time to defend them, and I just rage quit that game so hard. Ni no Kuni 2, you know, I've got Ni no Kuni 1 in S+ tier, so you can tell that the expectations were high. The story was not as good. I didn't really care about the characters as much. There was a big lack of voice acting. The combat's better. The visuals are nice. It runs well. Unfortunately, this goes down to a B. I wanted it to be a A, S, or S+, but it's a B for me. Thousand Arms, I think people have a weird fondness for the game, but to me that's also trash. Here's my experience with Thousand Arms. I start off, the character models look horrendous. I'm confused at what I'm supposed to do, so I leave town, I get into a random battle, I die immediately, and then I never play the game again. Tokyo Xanadu EX Plus on PS4 is like my favorite hidden gem of all time. I always call it a budget Persona game with ease combat. To me, that's a great compliment. If you love Persona and you like ease, then you gotta play Tokyo Xanadu. It's so much fun. I want to put it in S, but it feels wrong putting it among these other games because the production value is not quite there. They don't have an English dub, and the story like leaves a little bit to be desired, but that is a big time A tier game. Disgaea 5, it's all the Disgaea games run together to me. They're all so similar. They're good. You know, it's a B. Wild Arms 3, similar to Wild Arms. I love all the puzzle mechanics, how different characters have different tools to work through puzzles. Great visual style. One of the best games on PS2 in my opinion. That's a B. Trails in the Sky, also a B. The last story is also like the epitome of a C to me. It's like doesn't do anything bad, but it doesn't do anything like amazing. I don't know, like from the maker of Final Fantasy, I would have expected more. Tactics Ogre, Let Us Cling Together, amazing strategy RPG, the Wheel of Time mechanic, or whatever it's called, where you can turn back time. There are these giant battles. The battles take way too long in my opinion, but it's really, really cool game. A tier, I wish they would have made Square. Either make more Tactics Ogre, something, please. You're sitting on a gold mine, I swear. Persona 5 almost became my favorite game of all time, with its visual style, its combat, its better dungeons, but it's an S tier. It's definitely S+. The only thing that stops it from being my all-time favorite game, surpassing Persona 4 Golden, is the characters. The characters just don't know how to have fun, and all the side events that were fun in Persona 4 Golden, like the camping trip and going to the club and getting fake drunk and all that, there were just so many more fun moments, and there aren't enough of those in Persona 5. Maybe they'll fix that in Persona 5 Royal. We got a new character. They've been showing some more scenes. They're going to fill out that last semester. So depending on how that goes, you know, it might bump up, but for now it's probably sits at my number 2 or number 3 favorite game. Tales of the Abyss, I think people hate on this game because of Luke. I liked all the characters. I liked the world. I like solid combat, cool art style. That's a B. Same with Vesperia. I don't feel good putting it at A tier. To me, it's not quite that for me. Tales of Exiliia 2, we ran into quite a few Tales games in a row here. Tales of Exiliia 2, in my opinion, has the best combat system in the series. Elle is adorable, the little girl character, and the thing that drives me crazy about that game is how it gates you off. Like, you can't do certain story missions, you can't progress in the story until you pay off part of your debt, and it like artificially pads the game, and I hate when games do that. So I probably would have put Xillia 2 at an A tier if it weren't for that, but I can't put it higher than B. Xillia 1, I just really didn't like much of the characters outside of Alvin. I know you could play as Jude or Mila. I didn't really like either of them. I thought they were kind of dull. That's a C for me. Tales of Vesperia is a D. That is borderline trash. It's got good combat, good music, art style's nice, but dungeon design, world design, and the story, I couldn't care for it. I was so bored and frustrated with that game. Final Fantasy 15, is it incomplete? Yes. Does it leave more to be desired? Yes, but I still love that game. I had so much fun with the combat, exploring. I got the Platinum. It's the only Final Fantasy I've gotten a Platinum in. That's an A for me. All right, getting close to the end here. E7, that is an A for me. Next to Final Fantasy Tactics, the Tactics port, that's my favorite game. Tokyo Mirage Sessions, that is a game that is in desperate need of a Switch port. It's funny, I remember when this got announced, people had their idea of what Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem was going to be, and this was probably the last thing they expected, but this was like the best thing for me because I love, the idle pop stuff. It's got, I don't know, I really, really like that. That's an A tier game for me. Persona Q, I have Etrian Odyssey as an A tier game. And you'd think, because I like Persona, that would also be an A tier game, but that game was really hard, and I did not know at the time how powerful Naoto was. So it just got really hard. I hit a wall in that game, and I just never went back. That game's a C in my mind right now. If I went back, maybe it'd be higher, but right now it's a C for me. Okay, Valkyria Chronicles 4, I really enjoyed that. It was so great to see the game, the series come back from its handheld roots on PSP. Game looked amazing, new classes, the story was really engaging, beautiful, good music. That's an A tier game for me for sure. Play it. That game did not sell well. Play it. If you like strategy RPGs, go play that game. The World Ends With You, I think this is another game that people would probably put pretty high on their list. But for me, it just never really did it for me. The combat system was a little wacky, especially because I played the DS version, where you're like having to hit the controls and the touchpad, and then the Switch version apparently makes your hand hurt, so I gotta put it at B. I really like the visual style, and I like what the story was about, but everything else, I don't know, I couldn't get into. Ys 8, that's an S tier game for me. That is like the epitome of a great action RPG. If you haven't played it already, like, what are you doing? Give Ys 8 a try. Xenogears, okay, this last string of games I think are gonna be controversial. Xenogears, I love the world. I love how the combat, you can make your own abilities. Good soundtrack, but too high of an encounter rate, and like those old JRPGs just don't age well to me. When it comes to the high encounter rate, you just have so many battles. I just want to get down to the exploration. I think people would probably put it super high, but for me, that's a B tier. I can't put it any higher. Xenoblade Chronicles X, that is borderline trash for me. But I'm going to put it at D. Much like Xillia 2, artificially gates when you can progress in the story. The visual style, God, the faces were so bad. And I think that game is like 20 hours too long. Xenosaga, never played Xenosaga, but I figured somebody would ask. Trails of Cold Steel, that's a D tier game. I like the combat. That's about it. I hate the structure of this game where you go on a field study and you do random fetch quests, and then you go back to school, and then you do random fetch quests for the student council. You're like drip fed the story in this game. And they try to do the Persona thing where you have like social links or free time moments, and they're just not as compelling or as interesting. It only gets good at like the very, very end. But other than that, like, it is just such a slog. Yep, nope, not for me. And then on a high note, Valkyria Chronicles, that's an S+ tier game. One of the very few games on this list that made me cry. Has an amazing soundtrack, great combat, like great characters, amazing visual style. Incredible, incredible game, especially the PS4 or Switch port that makes it run better, and it's got all the extra content. Anyways, guys, that is my tier list. How bad is it? I'm sure you would probably put it right here in the trash tier. Let me know what you thought. Tell me your tier list. I know this is 100 games. I'll link the tier list in the description so you can fill it out for yourself and you can share it with me on Twitter. But yeah, let me know what you thought. If you had fun with this, if you like this video, let me know and I'll try to do more. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching this probably very long video, and I'll see you next time.